is a professor of structural geology at the University of Brunei. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us.
Very good afternoon to what's happened. You, Matt.
I'm Matt. Yeah, your reaction to what's happened there.
So, okay, this area is very active, and we have been working in this area for, the scientific community for more than almost 100 years. And we know this fault. We haven't already named this fault, which I think the potential candidate for this particular earthquake is the Sagayan fault. As you've seen the report, they're saying that there was a major devastation in that area, and also the Mandalay. So the earthquake, we know that this fault was potential, like it has a potential for causing the more than 7 magnitude earthquake. The information was already there. So, and we also know that this is a highly populated region, and people have the buildings were constructed without taking much care. And we have there are many reports. In fact, there's one from Earth Observatory of Singapore. There's the large study on the major faults in this area, and they have already warned people about the potential hazard. The unfortunate part is because in these regions, in most of the South and Southeast Asia, you go from Afghanistan, you go to India, Bangladesh, the situation is more or less same. So all of these regions are prone to devastating earthquakes. And we have seen this in Pakistan when it was magnitude 7.6, and we lost more than 80,000 people. So it's not I would not be surprised if we have a huge loss here, unfortunately. But the primary question that we have to ask everyone is that who's going to take responsibility for this? Because if we had all the scientific, the scientific input there, it was already there that this is a major earthquake can happen in this region. So we have to get ready and prepare our ground for that, and we've not been doing that effectively. Japan, I think, has done quite a tremendous job, and also in Taiwan, they have done a really great job. But we have to learn from that. I do understand there is a lot of problem. We do have financial problems, and that's why I also, I have actually asked that we should have a United Nations forum for this earthquake hazards, just like we have for climate. I mean, if there's a problem, if there's a financial problem, if there's any other problem, the world community can come together. They can help for a particular region. But at least we can have these loss of life. This can be minimized to a large extent. I mean, as I said, that the earthquake science has actually, we know a lot about faults now than we know, for example, 50 years back.
Yes, a lot of what you're saying, though, of course, is after the fact. It's happened, and lots of people are missing and presumed dead, of course. And we're hearing from people who live in Bangkok, both Thai and people who've moved there from abroad, saying they weren't expecting this. The buildings don't look like they're set up like they are in places that you mentioned, like Tokyo and Taiwan, Japan and Taiwan. So really, should what you've been saying been heard before this happened?
As I said, if you ask me, we have clearly demarcated this area as highly dangerous. As I said, the fault is called a Sagayan fault for a particular reason, which it goes through the Sagayan area. And because this area has a huge basin, so in other words, there are a lot of sediments. So I also think that there will be a lot of liquefaction in this area, which is highly dangerous, because if the liquefaction, it means that this ground will look like a water, and the whole buildings will collapse on that. So, and you need really highly sophisticated engineering input into these buildings, and they are highly populated. We know that. I mean, it needs trillions of dollars, if you ask me. So I know that these countries cannot handle these kind of hazards on their own. So, for example, if there's an earthquake after 10 years from now, we'll be talking exactly the same as I'm talking right now, because they cannot handle it. So that's why I'm asking that international community has to come forward and make a spatial arrangement for earthquake hazards in regions where there is a political disturbance or whatever, but we have to make sure that people are not getting trapped in these problematic areas because it's not their problem. So we can come and help them and say, okay, how we can basically give the input so that the buildings are actually strong enough to at least have this they can withstand the shaking which is expected from the earthquakes which are going to hit this region anytime.
It's one thing dealing with countries like Thailand, though, which are relatively open, but entirely another trying to help countries like Myanmar be better prepared when it's a closed society effectively and run by a military government. It's going to be difficult for improvements to be made after this there, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, I agree. Any country which is basically not open, whether it is dictated, whether we have a military or we have a political system, I mean, any country where the political interference comes in terms of the hazard preparation, you are actually risking people's lives directly, and it is unfortunate. And we have seen this now. See, we do not have any incident we do not have any reports directly coming from the region which has got hit by earthquake. We're getting reports from the neighboring countries, which is again unfortunate. So that's why, like, we have to think about how we can map this entire area and think about a strategy where, if there's an earthquake, let's say, for example, in Afghanistan tomorrow, which is a highly problem, in terms of devastation that can expected in that area. So, yeah, we have to map those areas and try to see how we can help.
Professor, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To the Middle East now.